Hello, I'm Brian Eslick from Automotive, and today we got an interesting repair here in the shop. So this one was involved in a minor crash where the suspension was damaged really bad, and we got a little surprise in the middle of it, and I'm gonna take you on the journey on how we got through the repair. So come with me. So like I said, the front end was damaged in a collision. It bent the lower control arm, as you can see here, pretty good, and it also damaged the strut here. And one of the things I noticed when I was checking it out is the windshield wipers wouldn't park. And the reason why is because it's making contact with the top of the strut tower. So the strut tower was pushed up vertical, bent upwards, causing it to interfere. As you can see right here, the bend here. And if you go over on the opposite side, you can see how flat and level this is right here. So the top of the strut tower on the driver's side here is dome shaped, pushed upwards. As you can even see it on the bracket right here is bent. So I already ripped out the lower control arm and started tearing down the suspension when I noticed that. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the strut, because we're going to replace that anyways. So like I said, I went ahead and removed the strut from the vehicle, the lower control arm, the spindle, the brake calipers, all that stuff to get access here. And now what I'm going to do is attempt to bend this back into shape. So this is an older vehicle, and the customer did not want to take it to a body shop, so they asked me what can I do. So what I did was I went over to the body shop and I borrowed one of their specialty tools here. This is a specialty slide hammer. I went up from underneath here like this, vertical, and I hooked a slide hammer inside, and I'm going to drive the slide hammer down, pulling the top of the strut tower down. And as I drive the slide hammer down, I will reposition it here in the strut tower here in multiple positions here to help, pinpoint exactly where the bend is and drive that back down. So now I'm not a body technician at all, but I did my best on this one here. As you can see, the gauge of the steel is pretty thick, and it took quite a bit of force and slide hammering to get this to even move at all. Okay. So I would slide hammer it a few times, and once I hit on it a few times, I would, kind of put my hand up here and feel, how everything is going, and then readjust and then hit the slide hammer a few more times. This took quite a bit of time to do. I probably spent a good 20 minutes of slide hammering on this thing and making adjustments. Here I'm using my hammer and a second hammer here to help drive it down. This was pretty tough metal here. It didn't bend very easily. I was also trying to avoid taking the entire cowling piece off here. That's a lot of extra work. So I was hoping to get this driven down into position. Here's another view on how I was doing that and working the slide hammer. In hindsight, I probably should have lowered the vehicle down. I probably would have got a little bit more driving force with the vehicle a little lower. So after hammering it down a little bit, I bolted up the bearing plate to the bottom of the strut tower here. This is without the strut assembly assembled, and then I operated the wiper arms here to see if the clearance is good enough and if the wipers were parked. And sure enough, they were able to park, but it was just nipping, so I had to do a little bit more work. So I did this process several times. I would put the bearing plate in and out, checking the clearance on it, slide hammering it multiple times. So if they were to take it to a body shop, you can see the spot welds here. They probably would have cut these spot welds out completely all the way around and actually removed this strut top here and then put a new one in, welded it back in, and undercoating and all that stuff. It would have been a major ordeal. Like I said, this customer did not want to involve his insurance company or involve a body shop, so we did what we could to bend this back into position. So I used the bearing plate that goes on top of the strut here to mount it up in here and check the way it fit and see how you can see how it rocks a little bit. So I'd make an adjustment, slide hammer a little bit, put the bearing plate back up there. Once I did that, I went ahead and assembled the strut, went ahead and reassembled the whole suspension here. So after all the slide hammering and removing the strut tower plate, adjusting it, I went ahead and assembled the strut suspension, bolted it back up finally, and then just double checked that the clearance on the wiper blades was clear, and I knew that I had it driven down pretty much back into the factory position. Now I was ready to assemble all the new parts, such as the control arm, the struts, everything that was bent in the process of this, and then get it aligned. So for me, this job was fun. It was a little bit out of the norm of the normal day-to-day mechanic jobs. Doing a little bit of body work is kind of fun. The best part is once I was done and had it aligned, you would not believe the results. I will share that with you now. So after throwing it up on the alignment machine and getting it aligned, the specs came out pretty good. I was actually really surprised on how well it came out. So as you can see here, the alignment wasn't 100% perfect, but it was 100% in spec. And that was what was important to me. I got the whole suspension back into spec. That way it's not going to wear tires and cause any problems. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive. I said thank you guys for watching and encourage you to subscribe.